What's new at Charlie's? What's new at Charlie's? Still on Main. What's new at Charlie's? Tell me what's new at Charlie's? Still on Main.
Hi, welcome to another edition of What's New at Charlie's. Well, today we're gonna, go down a different path. We usually do a bourbon here. We've done a few ryes. We do some other things. Very rarely do we try an Irish whiskey, but today we're gonna be trying an Irish whiskey. This one really intrigued me. I saw it. Actually saw it in the store. Was able to get a bottle for myself through the state of Michigan. It is the Wild Rover by the High and the Wicked. So I think you all know my friend Don Williams, the Irish bourbon whiskey fool.
Lately I've been studying Irish whiskey, so
And that was another reason Don's been studying Irish whiskey. Because you're studying for what, Don?
a master a master whiskey taster, actually.
So Don is studying to be a master whiskey taster, which I thought you already were, because I've seen you taste hundreds of whiskeys. So I could vouch for. I can write you a note if you need one.
Yeah,
You think they'll take it?
I'm just trying to get my
I brought a note from my bartender that says I'm already a master taster.
I'm a little weak in a couple areas, so I'm just trying to learn more. So that
All right, so let's quiz you. Tell me about Irish whiskey. What makes an Irish whiskey, other than it comes from Ireland?
Well, first of all, a quick history is Irish whiskey. There's arguments that it was actually predates Scotch. Now there'll be all kinds of arguments about that.
You're gonna have the Scotch guys writing in and
but it could,
disliking our videos. And,
but it goes way back.
Okay.
It at one time Irish whiskey was the most popular whiskey in the world. It then went through a downturn, and in Ireland they were down to 2 whiskey distilleries until recently, when they started an uptick, and now there's, I believe, 37 at last count.
Wow.
It's one of the fastest growing segments in whiskey, and basically it's got to be made in Ireland, and they do allow artificial color, but a lot of the new upcoming distilleries don't use it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you could tell this one's a little bit lighter.
I was just gonna say, I'm pretty sure they don't use anything.
Right.
Yes. Right.
Now this one is very interesting because a lot of Irish whiskey is aged in ex-bourbon cask,
Yeah.
which this one is, but then it's also finished in sherry casks.
Okay. All right.
So this one is Irish whiskey with a twist. It's got some added finishing to it.
Yeah.
And it's also a single malt. And a word about single malt. Single malt means that it was made at a single distillery of a single grain.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So this one is basically, single malt barley is what it is. And I really am enjoying Irish whiskey more and more. It's growing for a reason. It will never take over bourbon in my world, but it is probably my second favorite whiskey.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And it gets real popular in the U.S. around St. Patrick's Day,
well, of
obviously.
course, yes, we're all Irish then, right?
Right, but really, there's some Irish whiskeys that are worth trying, and I'm looking forward to this one because I've never had a secondary finished Irish whiskey.
Yeah, no, it's kind of rare, and we do have a lot of nice Irish whiskeys here at Charlie's, and they do pretty well. Yeah. So, are all Irish whiskeys triple distilled? Is that part of the definition? Because they all seem to be that, but I don't know if they have to be that.
I don't think they have to be that, but a lot of them do that.
Yeah.
There's a real big difference too in pot stills. Some of them actually call that out, and some don't.
Okay.
But everything's unique, and a lot of the new distilleries that are on the map are trying to do things the traditional way.
Sure. Right. Right. Absolutely. Like artisanal craft.
Right.
Per se.
Exactly.
Right. Going back to the roots instead of just pumping it out. So the High and the Wicked, we did one of their bourbons before. It was fantastic.
Yep.
So they're a company that is kind of
in Wyoming.
Yeah.
They're based in Wyoming. They're getting this whiskey from the Royal Oak Distillery in Ireland. So they're sourcing it,
Okay, yep,
bringing it in, and you know, High and Wicked is doing some different things. They have some different products out there.
Yeah.
They have one whiskey that's an ex-Cabernet cask,
yeah,
but this one is, from what I could tell, their first foray into Irish whiskey.
yeah. I think the Cabernet's the one we did, right?
I
That's the
believe
one.
so.
That's the one that had well, we assumed it was the Dickel, had the 84, 8 and 8, and remember we did them together with somebody else. So,
Right,
yeah,
right, exactly.
And that was finished in a wine cask. Cheers, Blake.
Cheers. Wow.
Yeah.
So you and I are used to getting the corn notes, the rye notes,
Yeah.
and when all of a sudden you are hitting a single malt whiskey, it's a total different sensation.
It is a total different sensation.
So the barley, it's got some floral, but it's also peaty. You've got that kind of earthy taste to it.
Yep. You're definitely getting sweet, which I assume is from the sherry cask, which I didn't expect. From looking at it, smelling it, tasting it, I was like, well, it's definitely, it leaves a kind of a sweet taste in your mouth.
It does.
Yeah.
So the barley, the single malt hits you up front, and then the finish is sweet
Yeah.
and lingering a little bit.
Yes.
All in all, this is a more complex Irish whiskey
Oh,
than
absolutely. Yeah. 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 Well, this is also 117 proof, right? So, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's fairly smooth for 117 proof. Yeah.
it is. And again, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. It's a different road than I would normally travel.
Absolutely.
But it is really good, and it's a interesting change of pace.
I agree. Yeah, very nice. You know, I mean, I like the sweet stuff a little bit, so it's got enough sweet for me.
Yeah.
A lot of the single malt stuff to me has that, leaves an aftertaste. This doesn't do that. Yeah.
Because the finish is all sweet.
Yeah.
That's what you're really getting out of
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. So, wow, really nice.
Yeah. So, I wouldn't call this a traditional Irish whiskey in the sense
You're
of
probably
Irish
not going to
whiskey.
chase it with a pickleback, no.
Right.
Yeah.
But this is really interesting. And for those of you out there, and I know there's a lot of you who enjoy sampling different whiskeys,
Yeah,
this is one you're going to want to sample.
absolutely. Yeah.
Because
I can't say I've had anything like it before.
it's very unique.
Very unique.
No doubt about it. So one more thing is, I've been asked several times about malted barley.
Yeah.
Like, what makes barley malted? And all that means is when they're prepping the barley to go into the mash, they actually generate it with water and let it begin to sprout. Malting means it's beginning to sprout, and then they inhibit the sprouting after a certain time to retain the starch, which really fires up the sugar.
Right.
So really, that's what it means. You'll see that in bourbon mash is too. They add a portion of malted barley. That's what it means. Malted means they're beginning to let it sprout. And then sometimes they will oven toast it. They will do some other things. But it doesn't mean that they're adding malt to it. Malting is just the form of sprouting.
Right. Right. It's kind of like those eggs at Easter time, the malted chocolate eggs. Is that what, is it, I think that's the same thing.
No, not the same thing.
Okay, not the same thing apparently. All right, well, hey, I really enjoyed this. It was a nice little different taste from all the fantastic bourbon we've been trying. Now we've tried a fantastic Irish whiskey, so come give it a try at Charlie's.
Thank you, everyone.
What's new at Charlie's? Still on Main. What's new at Charlie's? Tell me what's new with Charlie's still on Main.